Ever worked somewhere and just felt that something wasn't quite right? Or maybe you've been lucky enough to be a part of a team where doing the right thing was just the way things were done. What's the secret ingredient? 9 times out of 10, it comes down to one thing: leadership. And today, we're going to look at how truly ethical leaders don't just talk the talk, they build an entire culture of integrity from the ground up. Because let's be honest, a fancy ethics policy collecting dust on a shelf, that's not enough. We've all seen the headlines of corporate scandals where greed or pressure led to disastrous consequences. Millions lost, reputation shattered, lives impacted. However, on the flip side, companies with strong ethical foundations consistently outperform, attract top talent, and earn unwavering customer loyalty. So how do they do it? And how can you, whether you're a CEO, a team leader, or aspiring to be one, foster a truly ethical environment? That's exactly what we're exploring today. It all starts at the top. Think of a leader as casting a shadow over the entire organization. Their actions, their decisions, even the questions that they ask in meetings, these all signal what truly matters. This is the tone at the top. If a leader constantly cuts corners to hit targets, guess what? Their team will likely feel pressure to do the same. And then, even if it's a written rule against it, the unwritten rule, what the leader actually does, becomes the norm. I remember reading about James Burke, the CEO of Johnson & Johnson, during the 1982 Tylenol crisis when cyanide-laced capsules killed 7 people. Burke made the incredibly tough and expensive decision to recall 31 million bottles. Why? Because of their company credo, their ethical guide. Put public safety first. He lived those values. And then that decisive ethical action became the gold standard in crisis management, ultimately reinforcing the trust in the brand. He led by example, showing that ethics weren't just words, but the core of their operation. Okay, so leadership sets the tone, but what about tangible guidelines? Most companies have a code of conduct. However, simply having one isn't the end game. Is it a 50-page document written in legal jargon that new hires sign and forget? Or is it a living, breathing part of the organization? Effective codes are clear, concise, and relatable. They should be regularly revisited, not just during onboarding. Think interactive training sessions, real-life ethical dilemmas discussed in team meetings. For instance, instead of the rule saying, don't accept lavish gifts, a training scenario could be a supplier offers you tickets to a major sporting event right before the contract renewal. What do? Who do you talk to? And then these discussions help employees internalize the principles, making the code a practical tool rather than some dusty manual. Patagonia is a fantastic example. I realize I've used them a few times as examples in past videos, but their mission to build the best product, cause no unnecessary harm, use business to inspire and implement solutions to environmental crisis isn't just a slogan. It's woven into their code of conduct, their supply chain decisions, their employee activism. It's alive. So you got the leader setting the tone and a living code of conduct. What else? You need to build an entire ecosystem that supports ethical behavior. One crucial element is creating safe channels for reporting concerns. Think anonymous ethical hotlines or a dedicated omnibuds person. However, these channels are useless if employees fear retaliation. This is where psychological safety comes in. Coined by Harvard professor Amy Edmondson, it is the belief that you won't be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. Leaders must actively cultivate this. When someone does report an issue, how is it being handled? Is the messenger thanked or subtly or not so subtly penalized? And then the outcome of the first report sends a powerful message to everyone else. Another powerful mechanism? Integrate ethical considerations into performance reviews. Are employees only judged on hitting the sales numbers, or is how they achieve those numbers also evaluated? If someone achieves stellar results but leaves a trail of broken ethical rules or disgruntled colleagues, that needs to be addressed. Recognizing and rewarding ethical behavior sends a clear signal that it's valued just as much as the bottom line performance. This brings us to a critical point: accountability. What happens when ethical lapses do occur? Because they will. No system is perfect. The key is consistent and fair consequences regardless of who's involved. If a star salesperson violates the code of conduct, but it's just swept under the rug because they bring in a lot of revenue, that destroys any perception of fairness. And then the entire ethical framework crumbles. Contrast that with companies that take swift, transparent action. It's not about punitive culture, but a culture of fairness and learning. When Volkswagen's Dieselgate scandal broke out, the initial lack of accountability from the top caused immense damage. It took years and massive leadership changes to even begin to rebuild trust. However, when leaders are seen to hold themselves and others accountable, it reinforces the message that ethics is non-negotiable. Let's zoom in on a couple more examples. Consider the opposite of the Tylenol case, Enron. The leadership there, Ken Lay and Jeffrey Skilling, actively fostered a culture of arrogance and deception. They prized aggressive accounting and hid losses. And then, as whistleblower Sharon Watkins tried to raise alarms, she was largely ignored. The result? One of the biggest corporate bankruptcies in history, wiping out thousands of jobs and pensions. A catastrophic failure of ethical leadership. But then you have companies like Salesforce, often lauded for their proactive stance on ethical AI and their commitment to stakeholder theory. The idea that the company is responsible to all its stakeholders, not just shareholders. Mark Benioff, their CEO, has been very vocal about business being a platform for change. This isn't just PR. It's embedded into their corporate philanthropy and how they approach product development. This is ethical leadership in action in the 21st century. As leadership expert Simon Sinek often says, the responsibility of the leader is to create an environment in which others can do remarkable things. And a core part of that environment is the ethical safety and clarity. So, building an ethical culture isn't a one-time initiative. It's an ongoing commitment. It starts with the leaders who don't just preach ethics, but embody them. And then it's about creating a living code of conduct that guides real-world decisions. It's about establishing systems like hotlines and fostering psychological safety so people can speak up. And critically, it's about ensuring accountability fairly and consistently. The truth is, in today's transparent world, ethical leadership isn't just a nice to have. It's a fundamental driver for long-term success, trust, and positive impact. It's the blueprint for building an organization that people are proud to be a part of. What are your thoughts? Have you experienced incredible ethical leadership or seen fallouts from its absence? Share your stories and insights in the comments below. If you found this video valuable, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.